Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Morning, handsome.
Hey, we saw who?
I know.
Oh, hey, Brian, you paying attention over there?
I did say handsome. Yeah, you're looking good, man. Looking good. Good morning.
All right, Brian. Brian, you're looking good, man. You're looking good.
Hey, Brian keeps us sounding good.
I know. So what's up, brother? Hey, we were just chatting off air, a little bit about something, and I got to thinking. In general, I'm better off just in the back seat. Kind of like we talk about the sober life, right? Like the B team, the C team. I mean, back when I was drinking and my whole life, I was in the driver's seat and the smartest guy in the room, and sometimes now, I mean, I have opinions on everything and I can judge the hell out of anything, but I'm better off when I don't do that.
Well, I disagree. I agree and disagree at the same time. I think there are things in our lives that we are better off letting others lead and do on our behalf. If my starter goes out, I have no idea and I don't have the tools, I'll hand it over to a mechanic, right? If I'm sick, which I've been too much lately, I go to a doctor, and even though I like to play doctor, thanks to Google,
good luck with that.
Right? But I think there are things you do in your life that you're in the driver's seat intentionally, and
I have to be.
You have to be, right. There are things that you are intentional about, and I'm so grateful that you are. One of the areas is in the area of sobriety. The driving force behind this podcast. You're on the front lines of 12-step work. You're available when it's brought to you. You make yourself available and willing to do that. Our small group, our group of guys, our spiritual crew, those are areas that I'm glad you're not in the back seat because, frankly, the car would crash. We don't have self-driving spiritual Monday night leader. So thank you for not shutting down and climbing in the back seat.
No, and I'm certainly not the spiritual leader. I'm just the guy that turns the lights on.
Well, you're the facilitator. I love that. I love that you say that about you. You're the facilitator. You turn the lights on and you open up the curriculum.
And let it work.
Right.
But I'm better off, because I have an opinion about everything, but I'm just better off not giving it. Mm-hmm. And I recognize that going through life today. I'm just better off, like it's funny because my day job, I have to be in the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. So when I come home, with my relationship with Jen and stuff at home, man, I just don't care. Mm-hmm. And people look at me, people that don't know my day job, look at me and like, man, you're just last days ago. You're letting
right
people run all over you, run your life. Like you have no opinions on stuff. I'm like, I've worn out my opinion machine by the time I get home. But it's just easier that way.
Yeah.
It's just easier. And so you asked me a question. It's not like I came out and gave you my opinion on something. You asked me a question, and I kind of unloaded. But that was my opinion, and it's just funny how often I just keep that stuff to myself. Because it doesn't matter.
Does it affect your sobriety?
No.
There you go. And
no. So, I don't know, man.
That's what matters.
All right, so what are we going to dig into today? What are we digging in, man? We digging into your health or what? You okay?
Shush.
Okay, sitting over there, man. What?
You came up with the topic this week in preparation for this session.
Wait, we actually prepared?
Well, yeah, for a nanosecond.
Yeah. All right, so here's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think you and I, many similarities.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some differences, right, on kind of the environment of our path of sobriety.
Okay. Right.
I've never said it that way, but it's kind of
right.
like situations you went through versus I went through. And so as I look at others and as I work with sponsees and work with others, I see this difference between, let's just say the path I took was probably 10% of the cases ish. I'm just playing math here, and the rest are 90%. And we recently had it stuck because it recently had. Remember, we had Elizabeth be the guest host,
right?
She brought Jackie in.
Did a great job too.
I listened to that; it was amazing.
I know. I hope they start their own podcast.
I hope so too, Brian. You need to call them up.
Yeah,
lead generation. But Jackie was driving something home that really clicked for me. So it's a lot about nothing yet, but here's what I'm thinking: is some of us when we go into sobriety, right? It is a fresh start. It is your life is decimated, and you're starting from ground zero in every area of your life, right? That's kind of how I was, right? I didn't have a job. I was in 4-month sober living. I had, in fact, probably a good way to describe it is I was in that 4-month program, and I was asked to go up to a whiteboard, and they said, Glenn, there's 15, 18 people in the room, right? And there's, Glenn, draw a big circle on the board. So, I love showing off in front of groups. I do this real sexy circle. I picked a big, bright blue pen. And the guy says, okay, write everybody's name down who's on your team today. And I sat there. I mean, it felt like 10 minutes. It was probably 30 seconds. And I started to cry because there was nobody's name in this entire world that I could put in that circle. So that's why I'm saying build from ground zero, right? I had nobody. And then finally, I felt like an idiot. People are looking at me, right? People are recognizing. I mean, I know what's going on. They know what's going on. I'm feeling like a schmuck. And so finally, I'm like, well, I got to put somebody's name down, right? So I put my own name down.
There you go.
Right? And so that was, and then Matt, God, I love Matt. I remember this day. He looked at me and goes, oh, come on, Glenn, I'm on your team. And so I'm like, okay, Matt, right? So I have
doubled your population with this.
But I was paying him, right?
Well, all right, there you go.
Right, so come on. So no, he really did care for me. So other people went up to that, and they had 12 names, 15 names that they wrote in there, and so I had zero. I had no relationship. I had no job. My daughters wrote me off out of their life. I had one guy in the world, I call him Wood because that's his last name, one guy that I could call in the entire world that would pick up my phone call.
You had no home.
I had no home.
Did you have a car?
I did have a car.
There you go.
It was in storage somewhere because I wasn't allowed to have one in my program. And everything I owned was in that car.
Yeah.
And I had nothing, right? So as I go through sobriety, right, and so I started from zero, right? So I love the new Linkin Park, right, from zero, right, their song, because that's how my life was. So that is a fresh build from zero versus folks like you, right? You had a job, you had family, you had a wife, you were, you had kids, right? All different statuses at the time, right? But like I was talking to Jackie and we were talking about a little bit with Elizabeth and Jackie's like, Glenn, I didn't have a privilege to start from zero. I had people in my life that I was accountable to, right, that I had to kind of integrate and figure this out with, right? So in some ways, the first Thanksgiving that I was sober, I spent the entire day in my sober living condo by myself, sat on the couch. Everybody else was with family, and I had nobody, right? And she's like, hey, it was kind of brought up like, hey, that's kind of cool that you have the opportunity to build from zero, right? Because now you plug people in as they work, right? You don't have to manage with, like, there's people that are out there in sobriety, their spouses still booze it up, right? And there's challenges there, and then there's like guys that we work with, and like you know, with Nancy, you have to work through the issues, and look, Ma, and stop, you know, you have to work on the living amends, and so I just was thinking, let's just chat about kind of contrasting those situations. So I think about 10% of the people start from zero, right, and the rest, it's messy, right? But there were days like that first Thanksgiving, I was really jealous. I'm like, man, I wish I had somebody I could at least go to their house and have something to work on. I have nothing to work on because I had nobody. I had nothing and nobody.
So interesting. First of all, 2 Thanksgivings in my career, I ended up in detox, right, and in the psych ward.
Really?
2 Thanksgivings. Because I had myself. I had myself in that circle, and I was only serving myself in that circle, even though I had the appearance of having other people in that circle, other things in that circle. I was living solo, and my Thanksgiving turkey was served up in a psych ward in detox.
Do they really serve turkey?
No, but did it sound good?
That's hilarious. No, that would be for the mashed potatoes and the fake gravy.
Right. Sure.
That'd be awesome.
Sure. Oh, pureed, so I don't try and self-choke.
That's awesome.
But then after rehab, after my life changed, that Thanksgiving coming back, here's what I heard you say, because it almost sounded like I had some kind of foundation, and I did. I had an external foundation. I had some tangibles that I could grab onto. But where you say you had nobody, I was so stripped down emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, that I was nobody. So I had somebodies, but I was nobody.
So externally, there are people around. Internally, there was zero connection.
That's right.
If I'm hearing you correctly, you were zero.
I was zero.
And there was no wires of communication or connection.
I was so stripped down. Glenn, this is the one thing about the AA, how it works, that really always plays crazy in my brain. Step 2 says that there's a power that could restore me to sanity. I love the word restore, but I'm not looking. I have never looked to be restored to sanity because I never had sanity. I never had sanity. Not in my growing up, critical, formidable years. I didn't have sanity. I didn't have sanity when my drinking career started. I didn't have sanity with my poor life choices that were exacerbated by alcohol and drug. So restore me to sanity? No, I had to build a sanity. I had to learn a sanity. I wasn't going back to something I had. I lost everything and had to piece it back together.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, even though the optics were different between your situation and mine, the insides were exactly the same.
Right. That's the beauty of our connection. I think that's the beauty of our connection because I can hear it.
That's really cool. I never thought of it that way.
I also think that we each needed something. You needed your mark, the reference to your roof over your head, your relationship with Mark.
Love that dude, man.
I needed my relationship with Nancy for the same reason.
Stability.
I needed my relationship. I had no job going into rehab. I was a consultant, which pretty much meant unemployed. So on the world, my Facebook persona said, my LinkedIn persona said, he's consulting all over the world. He's very impressive.
That's awesome. So did mine. It was amazing how it looked, and it was absolutely zero.
It was absolutely zero. I mean, I'd piece together a contract or two, but would fail to deliver on the promise. And I have to move on to the next one. So, I had to find sanity, I guess and I had to rebuild the bricks to begin to pile the bricks on. I had to mold the brick.
Yeah. So, and I'm also really impressed, amazed, embraced, whatever word, just how loving Nancy has been.
Oh,
Right. I mean, she is an absolute miracle for you.
yeah.
And understanding and allowing you to invest in sobriety, invest in the solution, right? And I'm fortunate too. The difference is, like, I'm working with a guy, right, and he has legacy issues with his wife, right? And there's times that I look at it in these conversations, I'm like, God, I'm glad I started fresh, right? Because Jen and I started dating in the 4th month I was in my sober living, and so she's
never seen you drunk.
Yeah, once,
Okay.
twice.
Okay.
It wasn't very attractive.
Yeah.
In fact, I really liked her, and she's like, look, she goes, I'm telling you, I went through this once with my ex-husband. She goes, I am not going through this again.
Okay.
She goes, so you either figure this out
Yeah. Okay.
now.
Okay. So she knew. She knew.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, hey, I always say I got sober for me, right? But that was a very critical pulse check. The paddles to my chest. And I remember exactly the bridge I was driving across. And she says, I am telling you. And I'm like, hey man, okay. I'm at a part, I had like 9 months sober, and I'm like, look, I either need to really commit to this shit, or I'm going to lose everything I've just built for 9 months, and it's just going to continue. And I woke up. So I'm not saying I did it for her, but the impact of her pulse checking me was really good. So that's why I kind of look at, this dude, and it takes time, and you're rebuilding family relationships over time. And
Sure.
I watch people, and part of me says, oh, I was pretty fortunate. I just built from zero.
Yeah. Right.
But so I just wanted to chat through, but it's pretty interesting how you and I are on the same page with the insides. We were both at zero.
Right.
Didn't matter what was going on the outside. We were both at zero.
Right. So do you think that it's more difficult to build or rebuild?
I think it's more difficult to restore. And here's why. You can't control the other people.
Right. Okay.
Right? You can control all you want inside of you, but you can't control their pace.
Right.
You can control how you react to their pace. They may never come around. They may look at you as the devil that ruined their life forever. You can't control that.
Right.
All you can control is you. So I think for me, I had a lot of lonely times in the beginning where other people went back to situations and weren't lonely, but I think I had it easier.
Yeah.
And like I was talking to Jackie, and I was talking to some other people, and Jackie was sharing, hey, I had to cut people out of my life, right? That I knew weren't good. And I talked to a guy this week. He's like, all I'm doing is cutting people out of my life, So, I cut all those people out before I got to zero.
Right.
On my way to zero.
Likewise.
As they were zero on the inside, like you said you were, and now I got to figure out my life. Okay, they're not good. They're not good. It's almost when you do the Facebook purge.
Right. Yeah.
The annual Facebook purge. I don't like their crap.
Interesting stuff.
So I think I had, in some ways, I had it, easy. I've restored relationships with my daughters. I'm so grateful for. That took a lot of time.
Have you been restored to sanity?
Oh, 100%. 100%. First time I realized that is when I registered my car on time.
Yeah.
First time in 12 years. I called my sponsor. He's like,
dude, that's just what happens. That's what people do.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's what normal people do, right? And
I know.
I'm like, okay, this is sanity, right? I'm starting to do normal, routine life things and obligations. And so that was clearly a point in time. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to.
My tax envelope was in the mail this year on February 1st.
Speaking of which, I got to go I got to spend the afternoon this afternoon taxes because I promised the tax man I would never miss.
That's right. And you won't. I know you.
I will not.
Yeah. Like I said, February 1st, it was done. I had it done.
I don't have all my stuff yet, but I can at least make sure all my shit's lined up, make sure. And so that's what I'm going to do today because I'm telling you, man, it's responsibility.
It is.
That's sanity.
That's
right?
sanity.
It's insane. It's thinking, you know what? I'm in their good graces. I got some swing and misses.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. That's insane.
Yep.
Although I think our government might dismantle the IRS. That might be a win.
You never know these days.
So
any closing thoughts?
No, I'm not sure if I had any beginning thoughts. I was reflecting on that. I listened to the episode with Elizabeth and Jackie, and it was just kind of interesting because I'm in real time. I'm kind of working with some people on this, helping them go through their situation, and in my mind, I'm like, God, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But that Thanksgiving was pretty lonely for me.
Yeah.
That was a marker every Thanksgiving. I remember, hey, I'm very grateful for where I'm at.
I'm grateful now I'm not getting the turkey roll in the behavioral wing of the hospital.
I didn't mind I used to look at as I look back, let me see, what's 80 times 6?
480.
Okay. I spent over a year. Let's just say I spent over a year in detox.
Yeah.
In the hospital, detox, getting those turkey trays brought in. But I remember the first one I was in, I'm like, I spent 6 days in detox. 3 days you're drugged up on Ativan, and then you kind of come out of it. I'm like, all I did was watch this, 60-inch TV all day, and I got paid for my job. I was off leave, and I got paid for my job, and I picked my desserts out every day off the hospital menu, and
You almost got me wanting to go in there now.
So somebody actually said that to me sometime. They're like, hey, I wonder if you're addicted to people waiting on you, and like I wonder if you like a life on the inside, hospital detox. Mm-hmm. There's something you're getting out of that.
Yeah.
I had a doctor say that to me one time.
You're a career criminal.
I'm like, who knows, man? Who knows? But all right, brother. So I think it doesn't matter if you're, building from zero or you're in the restoration phase trying to restore things. What I know is the program and book of AA, the 12 steps, they give you the tools to effectively manage and win, whether you're in either one of those buckets.
Absolutely.
But I love what you said. Hey, man, even though you're restoring, you're still at zero on the inside.
Yep. Love it. Not today, though.
I really learned from that.
Yep.
I love that. See, that's one of those quips that you make that I hear later on. I heard that. Not today.
Love you, brother.
Love you, too. See you, bro.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago. Beautiful city.